So the 49ers have just signed a player with a crazy backstory, and perhaps more importantly, he's a Robert Saleh guy through and through. Linebacker Chazz Surratt is the latest addition today, who was previously with the Jets. It's a little sunnier than during the morning update when I delivered the news that the 49ers were signing Thomas Morstead, the punter. Chazz Surratt, well, this is a guy who, Robert Saleh, I could even read you the quote. We can't play the clip from Hard Knocks, but a couple years ago, Robert Saleh was mic'd up, and I think it was the preseason, and he said, "That's my guy. That guy's so good. He's so good. He's so good." He repeated he's so good 3 times. Brant Boyer, the 49ers special teams coordinator, also very likely likes Chazz Surratt. Remember when the Jets had that punt return for a touchdown to close their Week 1 win? It was a walk-off against the Buffalo Bills to start the 2023 season. Lead blocker on that play was Chazz Surratt, who led the Jets in special teams tackles this past season. So that's obviously an area of the game that the 49ers are looking to overhaul under Brant Boyer. But I think that the linebacker potential here is something that we absolutely need to talk about, because Surratt, he's got excellent measurables, and I say that he has a crazy backstory. This is a guy who was a quarterback, like a starting quarterback at the University of North Carolina, where Bill Belichick now coaches, obviously before the Belichick era over there. But back in 2017, we saw Surratt start a few games at QB. That obviously didn't work out. How often do you see a quarterback switch over to linebacker? That's what Chazz Surratt did. And I think, you talk about the 49ers looking to extend the runway for some of their youngsters. They drafted Nick Martin out of Oklahoma State. They still have D. Winters, who's entering his 3rd year. You want to give those guys as much time to develop, but as much cushion to develop as possible to complement Fred Warner. But if you're talking about complementing Fred Warner, who very clearly is the quarterback of this defense, he has the radio in his helmet and all that. How about a former quarterback helping out at that linebacker position? Surratt played 137 defensive snaps for the Jets last year, and they were sneaky good. Like, he graded out well, only 2 missed tackles over his 137 snaps. And I think you could see one of the reasons why somebody like Surratt was and is a favorite of Robert Saleh. Because if you can see the game from a quarterback's perspective, you can probably see the game from a coach's perspective. You understand how multiple things are working together, because football is the ultimate embodiment of organized chaos. And if you can do that, then you can be an extension of a coach on the field. One commonality of the 49ers linebackers that have been picked up this offseason is strength. My Upton Stout article from my trip out to Western Kentucky is out today. I know he's not technically a linebacker, but he's a nickel back, and that means he's got a lot of linebacker duties playing close to the box. Upton Stout put up the most bench press reps of any DB, 21 reps at NFL Combine. Chazz Surratt put up 27 reps at his pro day at North Carolina, 25 officially at the Combine. And then Nick Martin, who's the 49ers' 3rd-round pick out of Oklahoma State, put up 26 bench press reps. All these guys near the top or at the top of their respective position groups. So I think you could clearly see the 49ers' vision here. They want strong players who can play the run, who can shed blocks, and also, to be able to put up 225 pounds 20-plus times on the bench press, it just shows something about your mentality. And I think they truly want some dogs up front in that front 7. And again, you go back to Chazz Surratt's physical profile, the relative athletic score well over 8. He's got shorter arms than somebody like Fred Warner, but he's got decent size. I mean, he's 6'2", 230 plus. Warner is 6'3", so he is humongous for a linebacker, and he's got an arm length of over 32 inches. But Fred is a future Hall of Famer. We're not saying that anybody needs to have the same physical measurables as Fred Warner to succeed in the NFL. The fact that Chazz Surratt has some measurables that are at least partially evocative of Fred Warner's, with some of that length and obviously some of that athleticism, the relative athletic score of over 8, you can just see the basis of why Robert Saleh and the 49ers might see some potential here. I've obviously seen that potential materialize on special teams, where his athleticism, I think his smarts and his know-how, I talk about that lead block on the big punt return, you have seen that materialize in the special teams portion of the game. Now, speaking of the linebacker position, I know I already reported on this when I was in Baltimore this weekend. We now have the official numbers on Fred Warner's new contract. They have lowered his salary cap hit for 2025 by over $13 million. They've given him a new $16 million or so signing bonus, and then he's got a $21 million option bonus kicking in 2021. So, same staggered structure. You prorate the salary cap hit of these bonuses over 5 years. Same staggered structures, the contracts for Brock Purdy and for George Kittle. They're just only utilizing 2 bonuses so far for Fred Warner. But he's under contract now for what, 5 years from this point? So they can always convert base salary down the road into a signing bonus to open up even more salary cap space. As it stands, the 49ers have $46 million in effective salary cap space, which is the second highest total in the league, even after restructuring Fred Warner. Or it's not restructuring, I mean, they just redid. They gave Fred Warner a new deal. Even after paying Fred Warner the most money a linebacker's ever made in terms of APY, and he's got some big guarantees as well, the 49ers have set themselves up with more salary cap space now, and they make another move at the linebacker position by this signing of Chazz Surratt. So that gives them some runway for the guys behind Fred Warner. Now, back to this morning's news. If you haven't watched the video yet, you can. Again, it was way more overcast back then. Now the sun has come out here in the bay. We're on the beach today here at Aquatic Park. You can take a look at the pier of the Dolphin Club, beach at Aquatic Park. But this morning we talked about Thomas Morstead, new 49ers punter. He worked with Brant Boyer, just like Chazz Surratt with the New York Jets. And it might be that Mitch Wishnowsky is on his way out. We raised that possibility earlier this morning. 49ers have to make 2 corresponding moves for the 2 signings that we've reported today, because they're over the 90-man roster without 2 corresponding moves. So Morstead in, Chazz Surratt in. Who's released is the Mitch Wishnowsky era due to the back injury that kept him out of the final 8 games last year. Is that officially over? What else will the 49ers do to fit under the limit? They take the practice field in Santa Clara for OTAs tomorrow. So that obviously has to be worked out. I think it's notable, and I put this up on Twitter, the 49ers have added a lot of Saleh and Boyer guys this offseason, which is a sign of their trust in both coordinators and a desire to move away from what wasn't working recently, namely defense, which ranked number 26, number 27 to end last season, and special teams, which was dead last, number 32. So you bring in 2 new coordinators, and these 2 new coordinators have been able to influence the talent that the 49ers have brought in, from 5 straight defensive draft picks to open things up, to a punt return specialist, somebody connected to Brant Boyer, and Colt Anderson, his assistant, Junior Bergen, to close the draft, to Chazz Surratt today, who's obviously tied to both Robert Saleh and Brant Boyer, to Saran Neal, a special teams ace against whom Brant Boyer coached in the AFC East, to Luke Gifford, a special teams ace who played under Colt Anderson, who's Boyer's assistant, to Jason Pinnock, who played under Saleh back with the New York Jets, to John Weeks, one of the best long snappers in the game, 39-year-old long snapper. So obviously Brant Boyer very familiar with his game. To Greg Joseph, who actually kicked for a game under Brant Boyer last year with the Jets. So Saleh and Brant Boyer bringing in their guys. And this latest addition, new linebacker for the 49ers, just another example of that. We can flip the camera around here so you guys can see the beach, the beautiful bay. I'm swimming Alcatraz tomorrow without a wetsuit. It's gonna be good. I better go get ready for this though. I better go finish the cold acclimatization process, because you know what, even though it's sunny, it definitely isn't warm right now.